And we are going live now to the Voluisa County Emergency Management meeting. They just started briefing on the hurricane recovery efforts. Let's listen in.
Also, in addition, for people that use generators, you need to keep them dry. Short circuits may occur in wet conditions, and they can cause a fire. Down power lines. We still have a number of those out there yet. We've gone a long way towards fixing them, but never touch a down power line and do not drive through standing water if a down power line is in the water. If a power line falls on your car while you're driving, stay inside the vehicle and continue to drive away from the line and avoid contact with overhead power lines during cleanup. The reason we talk about that right now, and even with the fact with the generators, is that we're still in the event. And while the weather has gotten nicer so we could do the cleanup, the thing you have to remember is we're still getting some windy, gusty conditions. And a lot of the damage that took place, some of it maybe not be obvious to homeowners, or there may be a branch or a tree that's actually endangered, it's cracked, it's not stable, and all it takes is that gust of wind to push it over. We anticipate that we may have some additional problems as time goes on because of these windy conditions, and it's sort of the aftermath of this kind of a horrific event where there is damage out there that isn't always obvious. So we anticipate that we could have some additional power lines. Actually, you could have power restored and lose it in some places because that tree that no one knew was weakened gets knocked over now in a normal wind because it was already weakened during the hurricane. That can happen during this period of time. So once again, so that we have no more tragedies, we need to be as safe as we can be out there. Another thing is food safety, especially for people that have had food in, and this happens a lot of times, in freezers or refrigerators that had a loss of power. If the food was in a condition of 40 degrees or warmer for more than 2 hours, especially meats, eggs, fish, poultry, and any type of leftovers, the food could be dangerous. You can tell, obviously, by the smell or the color or the texture of the food. If you have any doubts, throw it out. Now, this definitely goes in your regular garbage. Even though in some ways it's indirectly related to the hurricane, it definitely is not considered hurricane damage, according to the federal government, as we pick it up, but it's considered part of your normal garbage. The debris from Hurricane Matthew is immense. We've had a major hurricane. We've not had a major hurricane in more than a decade, and there are pockets of heavily damaged areas with trees down and power lines across the roads. That's because a lot of this has gone on because you haven't had this sort of pruning, natural pruning by storms. This makes power restoration extremely challenging. Our power partners have been working around the clock with thousands of people from across the country and around the region to restore electricity throughout Voluisa County as soon as possible. In fact, we've been sheltering about 2,200 workers in our Ocean Center to make sure that they were here and available to work on the power lines. At the end of the storm, we had approximately 240,000 outages in this county. We now have less than 23,000 who are still without power. Florida Power and Light, Duke, and Clay and New Smyrna Beach are the utilities that still have some outages. Approximately 80 there's actually 22,000 customers between Florida Power Light and Duke that have yet to receive power. They do believe, except in some pretty rare cases where there's real serious damage, or as you'll find out, where people may have had damage to something on their house that prevents the power getting in, that's actually the responsibility of the homeowner, could stop you from getting power. And about 80% of the customers were being told from New Smyrna Beach Utilities should have power by the end of the day. Hopefully, Florida Power and Light and Duke also believe the great bulk of the people should be on by late tonight. Also, Clay Power up north feels that it still has 397 people that don't have power, and they plan on trying to get that resolved by Wednesday. At the current time, just so everyone understands the impact and how much resources are being applied to bringing power back, between Duke and FP&L, there are 4,200 workers out in the community trying to restore this power. They made a commitment to us to keep the resources here and not send them to other parts of the state. or into other states until the power is on for the at least 99.9% of the customers. We anticipate the vast majority of the remaining outages will be restored by tomorrow, and that we want to report that all the hospitals in the county are fully operational. The exceptions are Florida Hospital Oceanside and Florida Hospital New Smyrna. Both of them should be fully operational by Wednesday. Also, as a safety measure, we have 58 traffic signals countywide that are not working. And as I want to remind everyone, wherever there are traffic signals that are not working, you'd consider it a four-way stop. And so far, we've been pretty lucky, and I think that people have responded to that pretty well. And I know of no accidents, at least no accidents of any serious nature have taken place because of the signals being out. What I'd like to do at this point, I think because we just finished talking about power from my perspective, in terms of globally, is we have representatives here from Duke and from FP&L that can add some additional comments and can take some questions on power outages. If you'll step forward.
Thank you, Jim. My name is Rob Gould, G-O-U-L-D. I'm Vice President and Chief Communications Officer for Florida Power and Light. First, I want to be very clear. We are not letting up. We are attacking any outages in Volusia County and the remainder of Central and North Florida very aggressively. We have resources in the area. I want to be very clear. Any issues that are related to remaining power restoration, it's not because we don't have enough resources. We certainly do. We have enough people. We have enough equipment. What we're finding is there are isolated pockets that, frankly, we were finding as we were going about the restoration that were much more devastating than what we were seeing in other areas. I just came from an area in Holly Hill where literally a tree is in a roof, and we have to remove, as Jim was suggesting, we have to remove that tree from the roof itself before we can actually put the lines back up and the poles back up. So customers may see trucks waiting at certain locations, but the reason they're waiting is because they need to have certain work take place before they can safely go in and restore power. I will tell you from a broader perspective, we do have about 20,000 customers that are out of service. We had hoped to have all them back in tonight. It is going to slip a little bit, but we will have our customers in Volusia back in service tonight and tomorrow. We are finding that many of the investments that we have made since the last time we went through these types of storms, the 10 years since, we have spent $2 billion to put automation on the system, to harden our system, and just to give you a sense for how that performed during this event. We finally have proof points. None of the feeders, the small, I wouldn't say small, the feeders that feed power to the communities, those that we had quote unquote hardened, that we had put emphasis on those, and those are typically around the critical facilities. We did not lose any of those feeders. They stayed in service. The hardened poles, both distribution and transmission system, they stayed in service, meaning the wind did not take them down. What we're seeing in this storm, let's not forget it was a Category 4 storm that was right off our coast. And at the end of the day, what we're seeing is that the investments that we've made are paying off. Now, for the customers that are still out of service, that rings hollow, and we're going to get them back in service. But what traditionally would have been probably a restoration effort that would have taken 8-10 days, maybe longer, for the 1.2 million that have been impacted, by last night, we had more than 90% of our customers back in service, and we're going to restore 1.2 million in about 3 to 3.5 days. We've had a lot of help from outside utilities. They've done a terrific job, but at the end of the day, it's all about the customer. It's all about safety. We ask our customers to have patience, exercise caution, as Jim said, around power lines. They're still out there, and obviously we've had some deadly situations. We're going to get through this, and we'll learn from it. But know that we are not going to let up until we have everybody back in service. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Dannenhauer, and that's Danenhower, and I work for Duke Energy Corporate Communications. First and foremost, we'd like to extend our sincere condolences to those families that are going through the most difficult time right now, having sustained fatalities. That is the worst-case scenario for any type of circumstance in an emergency situation. We are thinking about you, and we will be keeping you in our thoughts. Also want to send a message to our customers. We understand that when you don't have power, that it's inconvenient, that it's challenging. We want you to know that we understand that. Our Duke Energy customers, our Duke Energy linemen are our customers also. They live in this area. They're part of the local communities, so they know firsthand what it's like to not have power for several days. They're working as quickly and as safely as possible to restore power. In Volusia County, during the height of the storm, we had approximately 75% of our customers who were without power. Since then, we've been able to successfully restore about 74,000 of those customers. We have about 5,900 that are remaining, and we are committed to getting those on by midnight tonight. There will be some circumstances that may cause for an inspection, and in those cases it may take a little bit longer, but our goal is to have those remaining individuals in Volusia County, the 5,900 customers, restored by midnight tonight. We want to thank our customers for their patience. We understand what you're going through. We want you to know that we are focused on safety. Safety is paramount for us. We also want you to understand the complexities of power restoration. I've been out in the field now since Thursday in Orange County, another area that was hardest hit. We also had some of our representatives here in the Volusia County area. And what we're hearing from the people, the customers in the field, is they might say, well, I'm not seeing a power truck in my community. I'm not seeing it in my neighborhood. And it's a little bit more complex than that. So just because a customer might not see a power truck in front of their house or in their neighborhood doesn't mean that those linemen are not working hard. They are. The systems are all interconnected.